Okay, good morning, everyone. The recording has now started for our session. We are going to jump straight in. I am sharing the camera at the moment. I'm not sure if you are able to see me. Just to show you who's presenting this morning. My name is Ina Frost, and I will be your presenter this morning. I've also got with me in the room Salama Parker, and she's also going to be joining me in the presentation, sharing with you tips and tricks and other of her wisdom that you can use. And then she's also going to be assisting you with your questions. So if you're not sure yet, at the top of your screen there's the Q&A little button there that you can press, where you can then post any questions that you may have. Okay, I'm now going to start sharing the slides with you. So if you can just bear with me a second, just going to share our slides. Salama, if you can just confirm that everyone is able to see the slides.
Ina, good morning. I can see the slides. Good morning, students. Are you able to see the slides that are being shared? If you could just give us a thumbs up, it will be appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, I see already questions are being posed on where will we find the recording. We will be uploading it to a YouTube channel for you, and I will show you that a little bit later, and your lecturer will also share with you the link to the YouTube channel, where you then will be able to see all the revision sessions, not just the one for ACBP, but also the other sessions that have been hosted for your students, for your different subjects. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Let's then get started. As I said, my name is Ina Frost. I will be presenting our session today. And with me, I've got Salama Parker, who is going to be assisting you with all the questions that you may have and that you are more than welcome to put up in the chats. And Salama will also jump in at times and just bring in an extra perspective into our session. Okay, so today's revision session then is aimed at getting you ready for our first semester test. Our first semester test will deal with learning units 1 through to 3 of this particular module. It is an hour-long test, and it will be for 50 marks, and it is a closed book assessment. Over the rest of the semester, we are also planning 2 additional revision sessions. One to get you ready for semester test 2, and then we will have a final one to get you ready for the exam. So you can save the date so long. On the 29th of April will be the next one of these revision sessions, and that will be to get you ready for the second semester test. Please, I just want to start off this morning by just making this quite clear, that these revision sessions cannot and are not ever intended to take the place of your normal time with your lecturer. So please, I need to stress that you please still need to be going to class, you need to be working at home, and you need to be making sure that you are staying up to date. You'll see today's session is just done at a very high level. I just try and kind of draw out key points in these 3 learning units, and just to revise those key points. But I cannot cover in 3 hours everything that your lecturer is doing with you in class. So please, students, please continue to go to class, please continue to engage with your lecturers, and of course make sure that you are working at home. So as I've mentioned a few times, today's session will be recorded and is being recorded at the moment, and it's going to be uploaded to this YouTube channel. And as you can see, some of the other revision sessions have already been uploaded there to this channel. Your lecturer will also be sharing with you this link, so to make it easy for you to find us on YouTube. And then you can find our entire session from today will be uploaded there for you. Right, so I'm pretty sure everyone knows the people on this photo that's up on your screen right now. This is the South African team that won the Rugby World Cup in 2023. And I always just like to start discussions like this morning with a question to say, what do you think made this team so successful? If you had to kind of summarize their success into one or two words or one or two actions, what do you think did they do that made them so successful? I don't know if some of you want to just type it up for us there in the Q&As. If you've got any ideas, what do you think, what did this team do that made them more successful than the other teams that were in the competition? Okay, in my mind, I always think that there's two things that this team did that made them so tremendously successful. And it's the two actions that they took. One was all about preparation. So what did they do before each of the matches? And then the second aspect is what did they do in those 80 minutes on the field? And those are the two key points or two key actions I think that they took that made them so successful. Now, how can we translate their strategy into our strategy as students to also be successful in this semester of accounting? So first of all, as a student, of course, preparation is as important for you as it was for that rugby team. So what does preparation look like for a student? From the student's perspective, your preparation is to make sure you go to each of your classes and that you are consistently working at home. And then, of course, that you attend sessions like this one this morning that will assist you in your preparation for the big test day. And then the second question, sorry, that I always get, oh, sorry, now I've skipped ahead in my slides. A question that I think I get often and that lecturers get often is, are there any shortcuts? And questions students sometimes ask, and even in these revision sessions, they would say to me, oh, if I don't have much time, what are the pages that I must definitely focus on in the textbook? But as we can appreciate with this rugby team of ours, for them, there were no shortcuts. For them to have become the World Cup winners, there were no shortcuts. Every day they came to practice, and when they were practicing, they put in their everything. And then when they actually played the matches, they also put in their everything. And that is the same for us as accounting students. There really are no shortcuts. Sorry, Salama?
Hi, Ina. I know our students did get some feedback. Sorry, I think I just, they said consistency in their training, hard work, mindset and hard work, practice. So it's all contributes to what you have mentioned now. So these were responses from our students.
Oh, excellent. Thank you, students. I think you then definitely picked up. Thank you for everyone. I think there seems to be a little bit of a delay, unfortunately, between me asking the question and you guys getting the opportunity to quickly type it in. But I do appreciate that you are contributing because for this successful, we have to keep it interactive and to make sure that you are all having the opportunity to ask questions and share in the class, because then I think it will make our class much more successful. So thanks everyone for your contributions. So yes, so as you all said correctly, for this team to be successful, it was about preparation. and about consistency in that preparation. So with that, we mean you can't just start the night before the test and now quickly try and see if you can cram in everything in that textbook. You have to be working consistently throughout this semester, just like this team did. This team showed up to practice every morning. They practiced in all the sessions. They worked hard, and so they were able to be victorious. And we must have that same mindset. So you need to be showing up in each of our lectures and be working consistently at home. The path to success this semester is really a series of building blocks. So test one is your first block, and then if you are not well prepared for test one, it's also going to impact you in test two, because whatever we're teaching you now in these first three learning units are very important, and they are the foundation to what we're going to teach you to be ready for test two. And eventually, all of this is going to build you up to the exam. So this module, please don't think that you can neglect test 1 and 2 and that you can just come in the exam and you're going to get 100% in the exam and that will be great. Unfortunately, in our module, it just doesn't work like this. Our module is a very definite set of building blocks that you have to make sure you understand and are comfortable with it so that you can finally have success in this module. So to bring it back then to us today in the classroom, so it's all about preparation. So we are very much in that preparation phase now of our World Cup training. And so we're working here today in class, and of course throughout the semester you're going to keep working with your lecturer in your classroom, and of course you're going to also be working at home. And then the other part of the success is what are you going to do in that examination room later in this week. And so in today's session, I'm going to help you with preparation, but I'm also going to bring in all kinds of little exam tips and techniques, because there are little things that you can do in the exam venue that will also just give you a better chance of being successful in this module. And that's also where Salama is going to come in and also just share with you guys extra little tips that she shares with her students, just to make sure that when you're sitting there in the exam venue, you are really giving it your all and you giving yourself the best chance of doing well in this module. Okay, so now we're going to start with our actual session for the morning with the actual preparation part, as I said. So in each of our learning units, there in our module outline, we give you the learning unit outcomes. And I always tell my students that you need to just read through these outcomes for each of our learning units and just say to yourself, could I potentially answer a question based on these outcomes? Because for Learning Unit 1, there's essentially 6 things that we want a student to be able to do at the end of the learning unit. So it's certainly, from your perspective, if you can just go through this and say, okay, would I be able to answer a question should they test me on any of these outcomes? So there's in your module outline that is available to you under student materials, you will find the outcomes for every learning unit. So as we said, then semester test 1 deals with learning units 1, 2, and 3. This learning unit number 1, we're not going to spend a ton of time on here today in this particular session of ours, because this learning unit is really just a theory learning unit. So for this learning unit, you need to go and just do the work on your own. There's not much here in terms of application that we can show you. So for this learning unit, you need to do something like draw a mind map, make a summary, do some color-coded notes, recite, repeat, any of the techniques that you found to be successful in high school when you had to deal with a big chunk of a theory. How did you deal with that when you were in high school? If you're struggling with knowing how to break up this information, then obviously reach out to your lecturer that may be able to give you little tips on how to make this material into smaller chunks so that you're able to study it for the test. Please don't underestimate the fact that this is a theory learning unit, because we do test theory in the assessments, and you will see I'm going to show you what was tested in last year's semester test, and you will see that there was actually quite a bit of theory in last year's semester test. So please, Learning Unit 1 is 1/3 of the material that's being tested in the upcoming semester test. So it is important that you give due attention to this learning unit. Even though it's mostly theory, please, you have to make sure that you are engaging properly with this theory. Now, what kinds of questions and what types of questions can you expect in the upcoming semester test? So there can be a whole host of different types of questions. There can be multiple choice questions, match the column, true and false, complete the sentence, write a short answer or write a short paragraph. And there can also even be application questions out of this learning unit, where we could, for example, say your best friend is starting a business and they now asking you certain questions before they can start the business. So these are the types of ways in which we can test you on learning unit number 1. Let's have a look. So this is then how we tested the student last year. So here you can already see there's 15 of the marks dedicated to learning unit number 1. So that last year it was 15 out of 60 of the marks was dedicated to learning unit 1. So a fair chunk of the test focused on learning unit 1. You can see question 1 was for 10 marks, and that was the sort of a short paragraph kind of a question where the student was asked to both list the uses of accounting information and then discuss why they would use the information. So a kind of a paragraph type question for 10 marks. And then the question 2 was your typical true or false type question. Okay, so this is how they tested it last semester. And that also brings us then to the first of our exam tips and tricks. So my tip number 1 is that you have to manage your time in an accounting assessment. And time is normally the student's biggest enemy in an accounting paper. And the reason students don't often do as well as they should in accounting papers is because they let the time run away from them. So tip number 1 is a very, very important tip for us. And that is that you have to be working at the right speed when you are doing your test. So we can see there then in this particular question, question number 1 was for 10 marks. And that means that you have 12 minutes to complete this question, because you have to be working at 1.2 minutes per mark in our upcoming test. And it's really crucial that you mustn't exceed the 12 minutes. Because if you start spending more time on the first few questions, then by the end of the paper, you're going to have to start rushing through questions, which is never optimal. Or even worse, you might end up leaving out questions completely. So it is really important that you have to be strict with yourself there in the test venue. And when the time is up for the question, you must leave the question and move on to the next question. If at the end of the paper you still see, okay, I've got an extra 5 minutes, then you can always circle back to a question and say, okay, let me see, can I perfect the question a bit more? What can I add in here? But initially, you have to be very strict with yourself, and you must not exceed the 1.2 minutes per mark for the question. So that is tip number 1. That will help you to be more successful in this module. Tip number 2, and we have a problem that we find with students, is that students are not always reading their required nicely, and that you're not always understanding exactly what it is we want you to do. So that is your next tip, is always to read your required so that you know exactly what it is we want you to do with the information. And then secondly, make sure that you are reading that everything that is given to you in the required. So if we look again at that question number 1, we see there was an and in the question. So we definitely wanted students to do 2 things to earn the full 10 marks. The first thing is they had to list at least 5 users of accounting information. And then the second thing is they didn't only have to list, they also had to explain the why and the how the information is being used by these different users. So you can see, obviously, if you only read the first half of the question, you would not have got the full 10 marks. So if you just jumped in and you quickly listed 5 users, you may have only got half or less of the marks. Or if you only jumped in and started explaining, again, you wouldn't have got all the marks. So please take a little bit of extra time in your test where you just kind of breathe, just say, breathe, I can do this, and then just read that required really carefully so that you don't end up throwing away marks and afterwards say, oh my gosh, of course, I would have known how to explain the users, but I didn't see it. So please make sure that you are really giving yourself the best chance to get the best marks in a paper. Okay, before we move on then to learning unit number 2, so that's really all I just wanted to stress in terms of learning unit 1. So remember, this is mostly a theory learning unit, so you need to be making your summaries, drawing your mind maps, reading the material, maybe recording your own reading of the material, however you find it easiest to deal with big chunks of theory. So we're going to move on now to learning unit number 2. Salama, before I move away from learning unit number 1, anything our students want to know or anything that you want to share from your end?
Hi, Ina. No students posted any questions. But what I could just say again, it's very, very important that they do make the summaries and their mind maps for Learning Unit 1. It's so important, and also to have a good understanding of Learning Unit 1, because as you go along, whatever you've actually covered in class with your lecturer in learning unit 1, you're just going to be building on as we're going along into the next learning unit. So it's very important for them to focus on that. And also, like you've mentioned, if they're able to answer each of these learning objectives as given here, then they should not have any problems with completing the theory questions in the upcoming test. Thanks, Ina.
Thanks, Salama. I see there was actually just a student who asked a question. So they asked, how would this question be marked? So I can't give you an answer that it will always be marked in exactly the same way. So for example, I can't now quite remember how we marked this question, but it could have been that we gave, say, maybe a half a mark for just listing the different users and then more marks to the explanation side. I don't know if you can recall, Salama, or we might have given you 2 marks, one for listing a user and another mark for the explanation. I can't now quite remember how we marked this one.
Ina, I think it was one mark for naming the user and another mark for the explanation. So
Oh,
it
great.
was 2 marks, yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Again, also, students, just remember to guide yourself by the mark allocation. So immediately, if you see this question is carrying 10 marks, then obviously that must also guide you to the amount that you should be writing. If we're saying it is a 10-mark question or a 5-mark question, obviously you can't be just giving us one word. Or later when we do the calculations, you can't just be giving us one number. So also always from that perspective, make sure that you look at the mark allocation, because that will also give you a little bit of a guidance in terms of how much should you be writing. So again, you can see then you can't just list 5 and expect to get 10 marks for listing 5 users. So always make sure that you just also look at that mark allocation and how that sits with how much you are actually writing for us in the test. Right, so let's now move on then to our learning unit number 2. This learning unit by far is the most important learning unit in the first semester, because this learning unit really underpins everything that we do with you in first semester accounting, and really in accounting in all of your accounting studies. So it's really key that you need to make sure that you are 100% on board and you understand this learning unit. Remember again, earlier I showed you that accounting, here we go, is a series of building blocks. And this learning unit number 2 is a key building block in building you up towards success in this semester. So this learning unit number 2 then deals with the accounting equation and with our double entry system. Again, if you go to our module outline, you will see there are 8 learning unit outcomes for this particular learning unit. So again, just go through these and say to yourself, could I answer a question based on all of these outcomes? Here I have made a summary for you of possible questions and types of questions again out of this learning unit. So again, when you prepare yourself now for the semester test, go through this list of mine and just say to yourself, would I be able to do each one of these types of questions? So once again, this learning unit also has theory in it. So out of learning units 1, 2, and 3, there's actually quite a lot of theory in these first 3 learning units. So particularly in semester test 1, then there can be quite a few theory questions because there's quite a bit in the content that you have to prepare for the test. Also, it's important that you must understand your theory and, for example, your definitions, because if you don't know how we define an asset, you are going to struggle in question 2.6 when we give you a list of accounts and ask you which one of these are assets. Because if you don't understand what is an asset, it's going to be hard for you to identify the asset, or even later be able to calculate total assets. Because again, if you don't know what is an asset, how can you calculate total assets? So please make sure that you are giving enough time and importance to theory and to definitions. And so we can ask you an outright theory question where we can say define an asset, or then we can move over to the more application style questions. So we can do a question like question 2.6 in your textbook. And if you can recall, that was the question where we gave you a list of accounts and you then had to classify them as either assets, liabilities, income, expenses, or the like. So that is certainly your easiest type of question that we can do out of this learning unit. Then we can step it up a little bit to the question 2.4 type question, where we still give you a list of accounts, but now we add with them amounts. And now instead of just saying identify the asset, now we say calculate the assets or calculate the total current liabilities. So that is a little bit more of a complex question where we now see if you can identify the account and can you do the calculation. Then we can get to your question 2.91 type question, where we will give you a list of different transactions that has taken place in the particular period, and then you have to show their impact on the accounting equation. Then we can test you on a question like 2.92, where we can ask you to do general ledger accounts. So again, a couple of transactions and how do they impact the general ledger. And then the last type of question is the type of 2.11 type question, where we combine the impact on the accounting equation with the impact on the general ledger. So that would be the a combination of everything you've done in this semester, or in this learning unit rather. So those are the kinds of questions and the ones that you can look at in your textbook that we can do out of this learning unit. And all of these questions, and really everything in Learning Unit 2, brings us back always to this page. And for my students, I always say, and I'm sure, Salama, you must do exactly the same, is to say to your students that this page, page 53 of the textbook, is just gold. This is such an important page in this learning unit, because this page is a fantastic summary. It gives you a summary of your assets, your income, your expenses. Right there at the top, it's a little bit obscured now on my slide. It even gives you the accounting equation. It also shows you the split between non-current and current. So this page is really, really key in being able to do nearly all of these questions. So of course, that will help you with a question 2.6. It'll help you with a question 2.4. It will help you with the question 2.9, because you will know where's the impact on the equation. So please, if you haven't been studying this page, then you have to make sure that you are really coming to grips and to terms with this particular page in your textbook. So if we go again to our semester test from last semester, and we have a quick look, then the first thing we see here is that again there was some theory that was being tested on learning unit number 2. So here's another 10 marks of a theory that was in last year's semester test. So we had the 15 marks from learning unit number 1, and here now are 10 marks from learning unit number 2. So the first question was one where we had to give a 3-mark explanation. The second question, you just had to name what we call that T account. So that was just for 1 mark. And then lastly, we gave you a list of accounts, and you had to say, are they assets, liabilities, income, expenses, and if they're asset or liability, are they current or non-current? So that question 4.3 comes straight out of your understanding of this page. It's essentially testing this page 53. So that was the sort of theory type questions in last year's semester test on learning unit number 2. Then the aspect that we are going to slow down a little bit on and go into in a little bit more detail now is talking about the accounting equation and talking about double entries. So we specifically now going to look at your question 2.91, question 2.92, how we record the impact of transactions on the accounting equation, and how will we go about to do that in the general ledger. So this is now where we're really going to dig into this aspect and really look at it in a lot of detail. Okay, is everyone still keeping up? Everyone, any questions maybe at this point before we really get going on these detailed questions?
Hi, Ina. I did have a question from Megan, but we did respond. She wanted to know how many marks the paper will be for. So we told her it's 50 marks. Many of them are inquiring about the YouTube link. I'm not sure if we will be able to share that link with them, because is the lecturer not supposed to share the link with them, the YouTube link? The lecturers at the campuses, because
Okay,
I've shared
yes.
mine with my students already, so they would be able to access the
Uh,
the
yes, the idea, thank you, Salama, is that your lecturer must share this link with you, and I will remind the lecturers again about that once we're outside of the classroom, or you can just email your lecturer and just remind them to please share that YouTube link with you. And then, Megan, again, on your question, our test will be out of 50 marks, and it's a 1 hour question. 1 hour paper, and it is for 50 marks. And here on this slide, I'm not, let's just see if I wonder if I can just, you know what, what I'll do is when we have our break, I will copy the link for the YouTube so that we can also put it in our chats. For the
perfect.
minute, here it is up on the screen, but obviously that's now a bit difficult for the students. So when we're in our break, I will copy the link quickly and then we'll post it for you also in the chats.
And then I got a question from Maurice. He says, is there any advice on how to practice the practical accounting? He knows about past papers. So I told him also to just revise the revision questions at the back of the textbook. And also your practice test, all those additional resources that were shared with lecturers across campuses.
Yes, I know the question is always coming up, what can we do to prepare ourselves for any of the assessments? First and foremost, students, you've got to engage with your textbook content. The textbook has got a lot of wonderful examples and questions. So my reply to a question like that is always first and foremost, make sure you have done every example and every question in your textbook. And remember, even at the back of the textbook in Annexure B, there are also a couple of additional revision questions. And also just remember, in Annexure A, you do actually have all the solutions to the textbook questions. Because I know in class as a lecturer, we don't always have time to go through every single textbook question, but you can do that at home because you do have access to all the answers at the back of your textbook. And only once you have done all the textbook questions and you then think to yourself, wow, I've still got time, I would like to practice more. Then obviously there's things like your lecturer's ICE activities. There might have been in-class activities that your lecturer have used. Yes, certainly there's past papers. Unfortunately for test one, we only really have one past paper because previously students were given an assignment to do. So for test one, we don't have a lot of past papers for you to look at. But those should only be right at the end when you just want to kind of finesse yourself. Initially, please, you must be working with your textbook questions because that gives you a good example of all the different ways in which we can assess you on a particular topic. Okay, so let's now just jump in to the accounting equation and the double entries.
Hi, Ina. Just one question from Aftar. He's an online student, but he's doing time task and exams, and I think he wants to know if will these still apply. I'm not sure. They're asking about referencing, but I told him there's no referencing for written on campus tests.
Yeah, for on-campus tests, no, but for the online students, if you are in the venue with us today, for your tasks, you must please just follow the instructions that's given on the task. If you are a online student doing the task, if it's a theory question, I would advise that you still do your proper referencing there for those questions, but please just rather look at the actual task. I think on the cover page, it will give you your instructions of the expectations. But for the students writing later this week on campus, you do not need to worry about referencing. Okay, so let's see who can put it up the fastest in the chats. Who can remember what is the accounting equation? So let's see, fingers on the keyboards. Quickly, let's see who can remember what is the accounting equation. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything coming through. There might just be a little bit of a delay. So I'm sure all of you answered this one correctly. What is the accounting equation? We can say it's the assets of the business equals owner's equity and liabilities, or we can play around with that equation. We can also say it's owner's equity equals assets minus liabilities. Or there's even another way that we can say the accounting equation. We can say it's the worth of the business or the worth of the owner in the business that must be equal to what the business owns. What does the business own? They own assets minus what the business owes. What does the business owe? They owe money to third parties, so that is your liabilities. So there are different ways in which we can phrase the accounting equation, but of course, as a student, this is one formula that you do need to know off by heart. Okay, there's not a lot of formulas in first year accounting, but this one you definitely have to know off by heart. So let me quickly look here in the posts. Yes, thank you. I see some of you did get a chance to also quickly type it there in the chats for us. Okay, so the accounting equation now is built around two things. Number one is that for every single transaction that takes place in the business, we need a minimum of 2 entries. And this is actually so important from an accounting perspective. We actually refer to it as the golden rule of accounting. That whenever a transaction takes place in the business, and we now want to record this transaction, it has to be recorded with a minimum of 2 entries. Because if we try and record it with only just 1 entry, then our accounting equation will never balance. So for every single transaction, there must be a minimum of 2 entries. In Learning Unit 2, it's typically only 2 entries, but you will see later when we start bringing in VAT into our calculations, then it can actually be more entries. But now these 2 entries, it can't just be any old 2 entries. No. It's 2 very, very specific entries. And so these 2 entries, one of the entries must be a debit entry and the other entry must be a credit entry. Okay, so to make the accounting equation balance, we need at least 2 entries for every transaction. One of them must be a debit and the other one must be a credit. So what I'm going to show you now is I'm going to take these 10 different groups of transactions and I am going to just quickly revise with you again. 1, how are they going to impact the accounting equation? And 2, how are they going to impact the general ledger? So the impact on the accounting equation, we're going to look that we have 2 entries, at least 2 entries, and then the impact on the general ledger, we're going to make sure that one of those entries is in fact a debit and the other one is a credit. In first year accounting, there are only really a certain number of entries that we can test you on. And when you go through the textbook questions, when you go through past paper questions or even classroom activities, you will notice it's really always the same set of transactions that's being tested. So that's why I've grouped it together into these 10 categories. So if you understand how to record these 10 transactions, both in the general ledger and the impact on the accounting equation, then there's really not much else that or many other transactions that we can test you on. So make sure that you understand this basic set of entries. and then that will help you to answer the majority of questions in the test. So out of this set of roughly 10 transactions, the one thing we just need to note is any of these transactions that deals with inventory. Whether it is the business is buying inventory, are they selling inventory, even when the owner takes inventory. The way we record these transactions can differ based on the inventory system that is being used by the business. So it depends whether the business is using perpetual or periodic inventory. That will have an impact on how we record these transactions. So that's something that is important for you to remember. You'll see in learning unit number 2, we very lightly touch on these two inventory systems. The majority of questions in learning unit 2 deals with the perpetual inventory system. But right there at the end of the learning unit, we do show you in example 2.13 and question 2.13, also just what transactions will look like for the periodic inventory system. But later this semester, when we get to learning unit number 6, we will go into a great amount of detail in terms of these two inventory systems and what are the key differences between these two systems. For the moment, in your textbook, we've given you a very short one-page summary. It's page 70 of the textbook, where we just, in a very short little table, give you the key differences between the two inventory systems. So it is important that you go through this as well as part of your preparation for the test, but for the exercises that I'm going to do today with us in class, we are going to focus on perpetual inventory. Okay, so now we're going to go back. We're going to take these 10 transactions. We're going to look at the impact on the accounting equation and the impact on the general ledger. But I see time-wise, it is now 9:51. So I think we all need just a quick comfort break. I know certainly I can do with a quick glass of water. So we're going to take a 10-minute break now. In the meantime, if you haven't signed our attendance register, please, if you can do that for us. I will also quickly go and get that link for us for the YouTube channel so that we can post that in the Q&A session. In the Q&A section, and then we will start again at 10 o'clock. So please, if you can all just quickly have a leg stretch and then be ready to join me again at 10 o'clock. Salama, I don't know if there's something, a last minute comment before we just quickly have a break.
Hi, Ina, not at the moment. I think the students did inquire about the breaks. Our timing is perfect. Thank you.